2020 Rebellion. I'm Tal. This is my first rebellion. I'm feeling very excited and very, very nervous. I'll be speaking to you in both English and Welsh, so many of you will not be able to understand me for parts of what I'm saying. Have a wonderful day. Dwi angen siarad yn Gymraeg hefyd am rhyw reswm, so helo fi yw Tal, dwi'n mynd i dweud yr union yr un beth, jyst neb yn gallu deall fi, ond i bai am y pobl Cymraeg. Hwrê am y Cymru!
Hi everyone, I'm Macy from Bethesda, North Wales. I'm part of XR Cymru. Lovely to see some familiar, lots of new faces, and some people I've only met on Zoom so far, so it's really lovely to see you in person. And a huge thank you to those who have come across the border to be with us this week. There's also some housekeeping that I need to go through, so before we kind of go into the kind of juicy stuff. Now, we strongly encourage the wearing of face masks, and these should not be removed during actions or when talking to other rebels. Masks protect other people rather than the wearer, so this is an essential part of non-violent action design while there are cases of COVID-19 in the community. Let's all wash our hands or use hand sanitizer before and after action. Limit the exchanging of objects between rebels and maintain at least 2 meters of physical distancing during actions, including today's march. At every action, there should be stewards in high-vis whose role will be to help rebels remember and maintain the COVID-19 guidelines for the action and giving a COVID-19 briefing at the beginning of the action if relevant. We might also not be able to do our usual kind of chanting and stuff like that, so at different actions we're going to be trying different ways around this, so please bear with us with that. We're like experimenting there. But more on that at the start of the start of the march later on. We also have the rebel agreement, so we ask that all rebels follow our basic agreements. These provide a basis for trust so that both rebels and the public know what we can expect from each other. These are: we show respect to everyone, to each other, the general public, and to the government and police. We engage in no violence, physical or verbal, and carry no weapons. We hold ourselves accountable for our actions and do not hide from the legal consequences. We bring no alcohol or illegal drugs. We take responsibility for ourselves. And last but not least, we are all crew. Now I'm going to hand to Tom for some important information.
Good afternoon, Rebels. My name's Tom, and I'm a member of XR Cymru, and I'm part of the Arrest Support Circle. I have some important legal information for you. As we know, XR engages in non-violent direct action, and on occasion this brings us into contact with the police. Whilst we expect the police to correctly and lawfully follow their processes and procedures, it's also important that rebels know their rights. Witnessing an arrest is an important skill that each rebel should have. We do have independent legal observers here in Cardiff, but it's important that we do not become over-reliant on this scarce resource, and rebels know how to witness arrest and report it to the back office. Arrests can be reported to the back office via telephone or online at arrestwatch.info. We have bus cards available for everyone in both English and Welsh. The bus card has the back office number printed on it and a list of specialist solicitors who can provide free legal advice if you find yourself in police custody. Rebels are reminded that if you're subject to stop and search or held in the kettle, you do not have to give the police your name and address. The police will often ask for this, but you do not have to provide it to them. However, there are exceptions to this. Under Section 50 of the Police Reform Act, the police do have powers to take your name and address, but not date of birth, if they reasonably believe you've engaged in antisocial behaviour. Unfortunately, Section 50 is sometimes used to obtain names and addresses of protesters, often unlawfully. If you are told that you've been detained under Section 50, please ask the officer to clarify that Section 50 is being used, and ask them to tell you exactly what they believe you have done that constitutes antisocial behaviour. Stop and search, again, is another instrument used. It's important that rebels remain calm and make eye contact. And each rebel is entitled to ask the officer the following questions. Why are you stopping me? What power are you using? What are you looking for? Who are you? Ask them for their badge number and ask them from which station they've come from. You should not give your name and address. The police should not ask for your details or threaten to take you home. Answer all small talk with no comment. Being searched does not necessarily mean you are being arrested. We can also remind officers to go wisely. This is an acronym used by the police during their training, which lets them know that we understand and expect them to perform their duties lawfully. If you remember nothing else I've said, there are 5 key messages: no comment, no personal details, under what power, no duty solicitor, no caution. Look after one another and have a good rebellion.
Thank you, Tom. We've shown in the past how amazing we are when our different regions and nations pull together. So I'll now pass on to Will, who is going to tell us a little bit more about our history together.
All right, hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, as Macy just said, my name's Will. I've been a full-time rebel since October 2018, when I got involved with the Bridges Action in London. Anyone at the Bridges Action in London? Give us a wave. Yeah, brilliant. That was my first ever protest of any sort, and managed to get arrested, which was pretty exciting. So hopefully we're looking at some more of that sort of action coming up in the next 5 days. So, speaking for myself, but hopefully also for all of the rebels that have come from Bristol, South West and other places in England, it's a real pleasure and honour to have been invited by Exile Cymru to come to Cardiff to take part in this rebellion. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Over the last 2 months, Exile Cymru, Exile Bristol and Exile South West have been working really hard together, developing our links that have already existed, collaborating on putting together the actions that are going on this week. But this hasn't come out of nowhere. We've worked together before, worked together really successfully before, but just never as all 3 nations and regions at the same time. So the first time any of us worked together was Wales and Bristol at Oxford Circus in London in April 2019. Give us a wave if you're at Oxford Circus, please. Yeah, nice. The pink boat was the best thing that had ever happened to me by a long way. So we had, in Oxford Circus, it was all about our affinity groups getting together, our incredibly strong and powerful affinity groups, forming these incredibly difficult to remove clusters of barnacles on the bottom of the boat, on the bottom of the Bertacasa, as the boat was called. And a couple of affinity groups really stick in my mind from there. There's one affinity group from Wales called Kutch. Do we have any Kutch members here? Yeah, Kutch turned up with 30 absolutely mad up for it experienced activists. Various members of Kutch were locked onto the boat for 18 hours a day, every day. It was absolutely mind-bending. Then we also had, yeah, give it up for Kutch. Then we had from Bristol, we had the one that really sticks in the mind is the big insects. Do we have any big insects here? Any big insects? Oh, no big insects. But the big insects were a group of really inexperienced activists from Bristol who when they first turned up were absolutely well, I'm not going to say terrified. They're feeling pretty anxious about what was going to go on. By the end of the action, they were right in the middle of everything, locked on, getting arrested. I think a majority of that affinity group got arrested by the end. It was so good to see this group of people really come together and start working together and get really radical throughout the course of that action. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that going on this week as well. And then of course, big mention to the Welsh kitchen crew as well, who are just absolutely amazing. Where's the Welsh kitchen crew? I think there's a bunch of them here again. Yeah. So the next time any of us worked together was Bristol and South West in July 2019, when we blocked Bristol Bridge for 5 days for the summer uprising. Like, so we blocked Bristol Bridge for 5 days, then we blocked the M32 for 5 hours with a pink bathtub full of locked-on rebels. We did unplanned swarming of the city all over the place with the affinity groups just getting on with whatever they wanted to do. And that's like a really important thing to remember. If you as an affinity group want to do an action that isn't like one of the big planned actions, you're a rebel and you can do what you want. So just like get on with whatever it is you want to do at any point. We also did, like, it was at Bristol Bridge that we kind of nailed down our decision-making processes and making sure that we were hearing the voices of all of the rebels in people's assemblies every day, kind of bringing that into the decision-making that we were doing there. And that's the same process we'll be using here as well. So every day there's going to be people's assemblies. We want to hear how you've experienced the action, what you want to do the next day, and like your voice will be included like really strongly in the decision-making processes that go on. And like that action in Bristol and the action that was going on at the same time here in Cardiff kind of prefigured the closing of Bristol Bridge to cars and also the road that's just out here to a majority of traffic as well. So both two really successful actions in terms of like getting actual change in the cities that they are in. Then we had the October Rebellion. So, you know, the October Rebellion was pretty interesting. It was wet, it was rainy, and we were getting moved on and, like, dragging loads of camping equipment all around the streets. But it was Bristol and Wales working together again alongside XR Farmers and the Rainbow Rebellion. We held a site outside the Home Office for another 5 days, because, like, everything seems to come in fives. Southwest joined us towards the end. We did an action outside the BBC, which is one of the most talked about actions of the October Rebellion, like really highlighting the lack of truth-telling by the BBC. Like, we got rebels on the roof just out there. Like, it was an absolutely superb action, and like, yeah, October Rebellion for many of us was quite difficult, but it really helped us kind of work together again. Then, after the October Rebellion, kind of XR went quiet for a bit. But then in January, the UK Rebel Hive got formed, which had representatives from all of the nations and regions around the UK. So again, Bristol, Wales and the Southwest being represented in the widest decision-making body in the UK, really helping to hold the movement through a really difficult part of our life. And kind of guide where we were going next. So that's been another way in which we've kind of drawn all the nations and regions together. And now we are finally back on the streets again. Yes. We're back where we're meant to be, which is on the streets, doing non-violent direct action. And each of these nations and regions brings their own particular strength to this. So, like, I don't know, like, this is kind of my personal opinion of the strengths and weaknesses. Sorry, no, not the weaknesses, the strengths of our great nations and regions. I feel like the thing that Wales brings is like this kind of like, just get on with it, be in the thick of it, get locked on, just do what needs to be done attitude, where they just like move, just like get things done, right? That's absolutely amazing. And then Bristol brings this kind of like great organisational structure and all these decision-making processes and that sort of thing. And then the Southwest brings this kind of like really earthy, regenerative, community-based, like looking after each other and looking after like all of the people around us kind of thing. So it's like really great to have like as 3 nations and regions, like it feels like a really beautiful kind of balanced little trio of things working together. So I'm really looking forward to the next 5 days because, you know, as I said, everything goes in fives. We are going to do something really good here. We are going to demand that the MPs in Wales in particular, but also in the rest of the UK, take action on the climate and ecological emergency and back the climate and ecological emergency bill. We want everyone to back the climate and ecological emergency bill. It's what we're here to do. And all of our actions are all about pointing at like the importance of this bill, because it's like a really, like it's a great chance for us to like actually show the government what acting now means. And I'm now going to hand back to Tal and then Macy, who are going to tell you a little bit more about why we're in Cardiff in particular, and also what the climate and ecological emergency bill is.
So we are here in this city for a very important reason. Cardiff is the 6th most at-risk city from rising tides in the world, and the most at risk in the United Kingdom. And that means that during times of flooding, which are becoming increasingly more frequent and increasingly more serious, areas of the bay in which we will be protesting, the city centre, Grangetown, Riverside, Canton, Roath, Adamsdown, Tremorva, and this very land on which we are sitting right now will all be at serious risk of flooding, constantly. So whilst many rebels are targeting the seat of power in Westminster, people from across the country have also gathered here in Cardiff, in solidarity with the most vulnerable city in the UK.
So, as Will mentioned, we're here to support the UK Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill, or the CEE Bill. We're demanding that the UK government debate and pass it. So this bill is a private member's bill, and taking it through Parliament will be a hard-fought process, but it has been done before with other major climate legislation. This is an alliance bill that has been written by scientists, lawyers and activists, and it is gathering support from a broad range of campaign groups, businesses, charities and individuals. The bill has the potential to become the most significant move forward since the Climate Change Act in 2008. This afternoon, after the march, we'll be asking you all to sit down with us and write to your MP to request that they at least back the debating of the bill, but preferably back the bill in general. You can also invite your MP to a Citizens' Assembly talk on Friday afternoon here in Bew Park to make sure that they know what a Citizens' Assembly is and why we need one. After writing the letters, we'll be delivering them directly to the MPs, but more on that later on.
Hi everyone, my name's Em and I live in Cornwall representing the Southwest. Southwest rebels have travelled to Cardiff Rebellion to act now in solidarity with our Welsh neighbours. I would like to extend our gratitude to Exar Cymru and the good people of Cardiff for the very warm welcome we have received. Whilst difficult decisions have had to be made all around with regard to entering rebellion at this time, we acknowledge that of all cities in the UK and many around the world, Cardiff will be one of the first to suffer the full effects of the climate crisis with the rise in sea levels. Tal and I will now read out the vision reminder, after which we'll all take a minute in silence so that we may reflect and connect with ourselves, each other and our purpose.
Gadewch i ni gymryd eiliad I ystyried pam ein bod ni yma. Gadewch i ni gofio ein cariad at dynoliaeth gyfan ym mhob gornel o'r byd. Gadewch i ni gofio ein cariad at y planed hardd hon sy'n bwydo, meithu a chynnal bywyd. Gadewch i ni gofio ein hawdd diffiant I amddiffyn hyn I gyd, am y tro ac am genedlaethau ddod. Wrth I ni weithredu'r wythnos hon, a gawn ni'r ddewdra I ddod ar ymdeimlad hwn o heddwch a gwerthfawrogiad I bawb rydyn ni'n dod ar ei traws, I bob gair rydyn ni'n ei siarad ac I pob weithred rydyn ni'n ei gwneud.
Let us take a moment, this moment, to consider why we are here. Let's recall our love for the whole of humanity in all corners of the world. Let's remember our love for this beautiful planet that feeds, nourishes, and sustains all of life. Let's recollect our sincere desire to protect all this, for now and for generations to come. As we act today, may we find the courage to bring this sense of peace and appreciation to everyone we encounter, to every word we speak, and to every action we make in this emergency, together. Now we'll take a minute's silence. Humanity is caught up in events. The breakdown of the climate and ecological systems on which we depend, the loss of diversity in our oceans and lands, are all proceeding with increasing rapidity. A mass extinction event is underway on Earth, an event that we have created and that now threatens our own life. These crises can no longer be ignored, denied, or go unanswered. The willful complicity displayed by our government has promoted short-term gain and private profit at the expense of a stable climate and biodiversity. This is threatening our well-being and the life of all creatures. When government fails to provide adequate protection, it becomes not only the right, but the duty of its citizens to act on behalf of the security and well-being of our children, our communities, and the future of life itself. We hereby declare that the bonds of the social contract between government and citizens have been rendered null and void. We declare ourselves to be in rebellion against our government until informed solutions are applied to change our present cataclysmic course. We call upon every principled and peaceful citizen to rise and rebel with us. We refuse to bequeath a dying world to future generations by failing to act now. We act in peace. We act on behalf of life.
Hello everybody. We all good? Enjoying the sun? Good. Yeah, so I'm here to give the briefing for the rest of the day. Exciting, fun times. So yeah, we're going to march and join our friends at Caspian Point at the Welsh offices who have climbed up the building and have done some brilliant banner drops. And we're going to show them some love and support. Then after that, we're going to make our way back, and we're going to go to the Senate and write a letter to our MPs, or a message in some form, because this is all about getting the MPs to pass the bill. So instead of just being boring and all doing exactly the same thing, I really encourage people to try and come up with interesting, exciting ways they can deliver the message to the MPs. You could do a song and dance, record it, send a video. You could do chalk drawings on the floor. You could super glue it to their window. Yeah. And if this doesn't float your boat because the MP's offices are a bit of a way away, we've got some other kind of flat pack, easy actions you can do around the city, and we'll just show everyone that we're here, and that Rebellion is on, and that we're in a climate emergency, because they might have forgotten. I think that's me done. Who's next?
This is a real administrative matter. We're not going to serve any food in this park, so save all your, beautiful thoughts about delicious dinner until a bit later. The food is going to be served at the campsite after the march. Now, yay! Now who's next?
There's so many more things I needed to say. Wow. Yeah, so obviously we live in the time of coronavirus, and we need to be very careful with the things we do. So to have the march fit these kind of coronavirus safety guidelines, we're going to try and split into groups of 30 and be a sort of a fair distance in between each group. So how we'll do that is we'll get different banners, we'll all line up, and then we can kind of count and cut you into pieces while we follow the samba band. The other thing is that we won't be doing chanting in the same way anymore for today. We're going to try it out. So what we're going to do is have someone at the front with a megaphone, and they'll do the first part of the chant. For example, Extinction, and we know how many syllables Rebellion has, and then you just clap that along, and then we might swap around. We might have to do a bit of a practice actually. Yeah, and we might do the same with the classical ones that we all know to start off with. Maybe we can freestyle from there. So if I go Extinction, yeah, we could try that. Extinction Rebellion. That's maybe more confusing. That's just a lot of claps.
Between the different regions, both in Bristol, and the southwest.